William County and a former coach for the middle school We the People.
I'm Phyllis Dadd, and I'm a historical interpreter here at Colonial Williamsburg.
I'm John Lombardini, and I'm a professor of government at William.
I'm Antonio Conti. I'm in the 8th grade.
My name is Madison Fuentes, and I am also in the 8th grade.
I'm Josh Buckley. I'm in the 8th grade.
I'm Morgan Campbell, and I am in the 8th grade, and our teacher is Mrs. Hahn.
All right, we are doing Unit 1, Question 2. I'm going to read the question to you in its entirety, and then as soon as you're ready, you can begin your opening statement. The founders were concerned with how to preserve a republican form of government. According to the founders, what was republican government? What weaknesses did the founders think would lead to the failure of republican government? How did the founders think these weaknesses could be prevented? And do you think the founders' solutions were correct? Why or why not?
A republican government is a form of government in which people elect representatives to represent them in Congress. Unlike a democracy, where it is majority rule only without law, republican government is ruled by law over the people. A democracy may work best in small communities where everyone has common needs and views. But in larger communities, it is a problem because people have different wants and needs that often contradict each other. An example would be if a group of businessmen were complaining about taxes or importing goods being too high. If the government greatly reduced these taxes, then it would lose power. If the government didn't do anything, the businessmen may have to close their businesses, which would take away all tax income for the government. Representatives do what they think is best for the economy by making compromises. They might suggest a tax cut, but one that is not enough to greatly affect the government's power.
The fact that the founders were correct in their decisions for government is evident simply because it has worked for the past 200 years. Give all power to the many, they will oppress the few. Give all power to the few, they will oppress the many. These were the words spoken by Alexander Hamilton. To clarify what Hamilton is saying, one group, whether big or small, will abuse the powers they have been given with no compromises. In order to prevent this, the Founding Fathers created a system of checks and balances. There are 3 different branches of government to help ensure that no one group can have too much power. The populace has the right to vote for the people they want to represent them in government.
Constitutional governments are organized in such a way that no one person or group can get enough power to dominate the government. There are 2 ways it is organized. One way is to divide the powers of government among different branches or parts. Doing so prevents any one person or group from having all the power. The second way is to balance the powers among the branches of government in such a way that no one branch has complete control. Give each branch methods to check the use of powers by other branches.
One of the most important things that the Founding Fathers knew was that their Constitution must be flexible without compromising the major tenets of the law. The Founding Fathers found a solution to this problem. They decided to allow changes or amendments to be made to the Constitution at any given time. This allows for the Constitution to be updated, satisfying the needs and wants of the people at any given time. One good example of this is the 26th Amendment, which states that anyone age 18 or older can vote. Another example is the 19th Amendment, which states that women can vote. If the founders did not provide this way to prevent problems in our government, America would be in great turmoil. The Founding Fathers, while having opposing stances on issues, all had common standard. They did away with moral relativity, and all issues were debated on a mutually agreed upon common foundation. In order to be contradicting, it is always best to first be like-minded with the opponents. While this may seem oxymoronic, it is the only way to have a healthy, expedient, and productive debate while still maintaining a sense of unity and respect for another colleague. An informed instructor explained it using an analogy to ice cream. We all agree on having ice cream but prefer different flavors. In the same way, the framers had the same core values but discussed the details. One must always remember that we have the same goal of improving the quality of life for every American citizen and protecting the natural, unalienable rights endowed to us by the Creator. In closing, let us refer to a quote given in Charlie Chaplin's speech from the classic movie The Great Dictator. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then, in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and begin with our questioning. Ms. Dad?
Okay. Well, you've done a lovely exposition of what a Republican form of government is. But the framers didn't come to this out of the air. So what was happening that led our framers to establish this Republican form of government? What were they seeing that they felt they needed to correct or to improve? And explain how you see that.
Well, the framers have seen different types of governments when, by like the monarchy they had in England. They saw democracy, they saw oligarchy, they saw autocracy, and they wanted to take a little bit of everything, all the good that they saw in each type of government, and create their own. And that is how they came up with the Republican form, as in the Senate being their oligarchy for the wealthy, and then the House of Representatives being for the middle and lower class, like being the democracy, and then the president would be the monarchy and sort of stand for the king.
Thank you. I'd like to go from the origins of republicanism to how we see it today. How do we see Republican government at our three levels of government?
Can you clarify the question?
Sure. You told me that Republican government is where we elect people to help us run our government. Can you tell me in the local, state, and federal level what bodies exist or what positions exist?
Okay. Local would be the representatives, I believe. State would be the senators, and what was the third branch? You said local, state, and
Your teammate was telling you.
federal would be the president, or, yeah.
Okay.
No, House of Representatives, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and for local, that would be your typical voting upon your typical mayor, and then for state, you would vote for your senator or representative, congressman, and then for federal, you would vote for your president.
You mentioned in your introduction that the founders preferred a representative form of government, and particularly a representative form of government to direct democracy like that in ancient Athens. Would you agree with the founders that we should prefer representative democracy over direct democracy, and why or why not?
I agree, because in a democracy, people could have selfish needs, like they would vote on something that would apply to them, but not necessarily to all the people. In a Republican democracy, representatives will intake what's good for all the people and not just for their own selfish needs.
I agree with Antonio. If we were to have just direct democracy, we wouldn't have no law. Democracy is the rule by the people. You can take away someone's car, majority rules. You can take away someone's house, majority rules. There is no guidelines or anything. A Republican government is allowing people to have their certain degree of freedom as for voting, but then those representatives will go on to represent the people and not the majority.
Okay. You said something in early part about the idea of working for the common good, working for what's best for everybody. But we don't always see that. Sometimes we see government working for individual ideas. What could we do to increase the desire of people in this country to work for the common good. So our representatives would see that more, as more important perhaps in some cases. Now, I'm asking for your opinion, not a,
It's not a right or wrong.
not a right or wrong.
You must go ahead and look around and see what has gone on with just her own personal gain. You have to, people should start reconsidering what has happened because it's going through the same motion over the last few decades or hundreds of years. They need to see that if you build other people up, you're building yourself up. You need to rely on each other. You need to have teamwork.
I agree with Madison. It works out better when you work together as a team, and there's no I in team. So
Really quickly, could you, yeah, you might as well. That's such an uninterested little question. All right, give him a hand. Good job, guys. All right, relax. All right, you want to start?
Oh, sure, yeah. I thought you did a very good job in your opening remarks, especially in discussing checks and balances and the separation of powers, and specifically how that works. I thought you gave a very specific, detailed answer to that part of the question, much more so than I think some other groups did, so I thought that was good. In response to the question that I asked, I would have liked to see a little bit more. Again, it wasn't a question with a right or wrong answer, but I would have liked to see some more acknowledgement of what the arguments on the other side would have looked like, and then why you still don't agree with them, right? So one of the things we might say is that, well, yes, as individuals, we might prefer our private interest to the common good, but we might look at a lot of our elected representatives and say a lot of times they end up wanting to serve their own private interests rather than the common good, and perhaps this just places the problem at a different level, but doesn't eliminate that problem, right? That could be, and we might say, right, that the parties actually end up creating our factions, right? And that many elected representatives are more interested in party politics and promoting party politics than the common good. So, again, that's not right or wrong answer, but I just think, approaching or kind of giving a sense that you know what the arguments on each side are, and yet still have a strong opinion one way or the other. Thank you.
Well, I enjoyed your opening statement very much. I particularly liked the amendments. Those were very good examples of what you were trying to get across and how we have the flexibility to change within a constitutional framework. I'm going to piggyback on what he said. I think you need to learn to answer questions on the fly. Anything like this, you're going to get something thrown at you. It's going to be in language that you perhaps didn't hear in the classroom. But this is your chance to do a couple of things. Show us you know what's behind the words you're speaking. And two, give us your opinion. As long as all we want is an opinion and you back it up. There are no right and wrong answers, per se, to any of these questions. That's why we have the arguments we have today in our public life. And the ability to argue successfully has to do with having reasons that back it up, in this case, from our constitutional Republican form of government. But all in all, a good job.
I'd like to agree with her about the amendments. This is the first group that I've seen today to mention those, so I liked that a lot. Be careful about the terms that you use. Someone said republicanism differs from democracy. Republicanism is democracy. There are two kinds of democracy. So make sure you guys are bringing up representative democracy versus direct, not implying republicanism isn't democracy. But otherwise, there was some give and take. Madison, thank you for helping Antonio with that one part. You helped fix the answer, so I was able to check you guys off on that. Josh and Morgan, make sure you're helping more and talk more. Okay, good job, guys.